Hi guys, in this video recording over here, just wanted to try this out and see if this is something that would value add to you guys as well. So the purpose and objective of this is to just record down the entire process of me updating my analysis on a week-to-week basis, and of course throughout this process over here I'll also be chipping in a little bit in terms of like the explanation, okay, as to what I'm seeing, what I would love to see for the market to develop before we have any potential trade set up and etc. Okay, so it's just really a behind the scene process of how I analyze and prepare my weekly routine, and then of course at the same time to just also kind of like put into words, and of course to explain to you what are some of the things that I'm looking out for. Right, so without further ado, I'll get started on to that. Okay. So first up over here, of course I will not be going through talking throughout the entire process, or it's going to be taking a very long time, but what I'll do is I'll basically look into I'll do up the analysis, and then after that hopefully you'll be able to understand what I'm doing through these videos, and I'll just very briefly kind of like share with you what I'm looking out for. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah, so maybe I'll spend a bit more time on the first one over here so that you understand a little bit in the process, and then moving forward I'll just be doing it, and then once I've finished the analysis on each pair I'll just give you a very brief explanation of that. So usually the process goes by daily and then on a 4-hour time frame, so I'll just look at the daily perspective, okay, and kind of like update and see if there's any changes required from the previous week. Okay, and what I want to take note of, if you go back to the Excel spreadsheet over here, I want to know like what's the current momentum, okay, what's the directional bias I'm going to be adopting for the week to come, and then what's the point of interest, right, at which area here I would want to definitely take a very close look. And of course the remark over here is basically the explanation of it, and then I'll just take 2 screenshots. Okay, and of course those with asterisk and highlighted means we want to pay a little bit more attention to that. Okay, so let's get started on dollar index over here. Okay, so very quickly you can see this is a daily scale. We are expecting the downside, so nothing much. 4-hour time frame, basically I'm waiting for at least a decent correction. If this forms a correction, then of course we'll be expecting more on the downside. Okay, so for the dollar over here, I've actually done it already, just before I recorded this, so not much of an update over here. Okay, in fact euro dollar I've also done it already before I decided to kind of like record this behind the scene, right? So you can see over here kind of double bottom formation. Okay, expect kind of like the upside here as well. So on the 4-hour time frame, wait for retracement, then look for the buy setup. Okay, so I'll get started on pound dollar for the analysis update itself. Yeah. Alright, so quick one here on pound dollar. You can see that basically on the daily scale I'm expecting this to continue further down. As long as it's maintaining within this channel here, we're still expecting downside towards this area. Okay, 3076, and of course then on the lower time frame we do have an impulse push over here, and therefore we want to definitely just give it some time to see how it develops. Right, so if you take a look at that, the momentum is definitely bearish, but directions bias is bearish. A point of interest is also there, and of course the remark over here, yeah, it's still there, right? So quick update on the 4-hour time frame perspective. Okay, this would then be the recent high, that will be the recent low. Okay, so we kind of expect a little bit of a retracement first before we look for more downside, right? So something like that. Okay, you probably want to give it a little bit more time to see if this correction is going to go like slow, right? So that's the idea of it. Okay, the fit over here that I've put, of course, it doesn't mean that it's definitely going to be just there, but it's just a reference point, right? Again, expectation over here is that it's likely going to come towards somewhere around this zone, but the idea is more of like we want it to develop very, very corrective in nature. Then we can kind of expect more downside, right? Even on a 4-hour time frame, I can put this in. Okay, and you can see very, very nice rejection and bounce, right? So that's the part of it. Okay, of course, this can also reject and hit higher. Okay, and that's the part where you want to wait for a little bit of confirmation and see how price reacts from here. Okay, so that's the analysis update for it. Okay, so let's take a look at dollar Canadian. Okay, there was a mistake. That's not the dollar Canadian pair. That's why I was like a little bit on the weird side. But yeah, okay, so this is dollar Canadian. Alright, so this is on dollar Canadian. So on the daily perspective, we continue to expect more upside, but of course, this can still come down a little bit more first, right? So that will be naturally on the forward scale. Okay, so you can see this is done previously, right? Of course, with the development of market pattern, we definitely need to update the analysis here as well. So as of now, okay, how I would see it is something like that. Okay, so from a forward time frame perspective, right, what we are looking out for right now is that this seems to be developing more of a diagonal kind of like crawl pattern. So we're expecting a little bit of a downside, right? And of course, you can see the momentum here is pretty strong as well. So the primary area here to focus is this, but of course, it doesn't mean that we immediately buy there. But if let's say the market starts to bounce up a little bit, you know, it comes down a little bit, and this instead form into something like that, then of course we'll look for an upside, right? Goes on the daily time frame, as we have established just now, right? We are looking for upside. Okay, so when two time frames are aligned, okay, that's where we want to look out for the trade. Okay, but of course, if let's say 4 hour is right now looking at downside, okay, the momentum is down. On a daily, we have established that we want to primarily focus on upside. Then it's kind of like not in confluence. Okay, when such things like this happen, we tend not to be focusing too much onto that. So this is on dollar Canadian, yeah. Right, so quick one here on dollar yen. On the daily, we're expecting one more push to the upside, right? Kind of complete this expectation of a diagonal within it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are expecting a little bit more upside first before the major drop. And on the forward time frame, it's actually not the best and the clearest as of now. Here you can see we are basically in a range bound environment, right? So definitely not the best pair to be kind of like focusing right now, but we do have this 618 over here, a little bit nice of a rejection. So what I would be expecting right now is if I would bring in this fib expectation, okay, that will be somewhere 6.8 from there. Okay, so we can potentially see something like that developing. Okay, we had a little bit upside, maybe come back to retest the triple top. That's a little bit of retracement before the next move to the upside, right? So something like that. This is the expectation of it. So basically what it means is that you want to be patient, okay, and just wait for more sign of confirmation before any potential setup. Right, this is on dollar franc. Very similar over here in terms of like dollar yen. Okay, the pattern is different, but the bias here is more or less the same, right? So we are expecting a little bit more to the upside towards the previous high, and then maybe then we need a rejection down. So for now, we'll be looking more on the outside itself. Okay, but you can see here, of course, the current momentum is definitely neutral. We're in a range bound environment. Okay, the directional bias here is slightly to the bullish side, okay, but not the very best, right? So I'll just still put this as bullish as an update. And the point of interest here would be at this high, 947. Right, so what we're seeing here, just to also illustrate on forward time frame, right? So daily we're looking for upside, okay, in terms of this bias over here. So on the forward time frame, we do have a nice decent flag over here. Okay, of course if I put this, it's more or less something like that, it'll be more accurate. Okay, so you can see 1, 2, 3 done. We have a very strong bounce. So this is definitely the intermediate low right now. Okay, so on the forward scale here is as long as the market maintains above this, we're gonna continue to expect more upside. And of course, we do have a little bit of an impulse push already. So as of now here, we'll be primarily looking for a retracement. Okay, and of course, idea here is we want the market to come down slow. Okay, it's a corrective nature, and that will give us a decent opportunity to the upside. Okay. Now on the 4-hour scale, if we're gonna look at that, we can primarily project something like that, okay, where target can be somewhere around that, right? 9404. Right, so that's for this. Now for me, I think dollar franc is definitely a worthwhile one to be keeping a close watch. Okay, because if you take a look at this here, as we have done up the major pair segment, right? Dollar franc seems to be the closest in developing a potential decent opportunity. Yeah, the rest, you know, like all this will probably need to take some time. So I would say like next week going into it, likely dollar franc will be one of the major ones that you want to keep close watch, right? So that's how I actually selected that. Right, so that's the list for the dollar major pairs. I hope so far, you know, through this quick little process over here, you guys are clear. Okay, and you can see, you know, it's not really that complicated in a way, but of course behind all this here there's a lot of principles that we utilize, okay, and of course all those principles are also being covered in the Elliott Wave Mastery course, right? So yeah, if you need any kind of like refresher or any part of this here, probably you found that, hey, this part here not very clear, why is Kar Yong doing this, you know, feel free to also let me know, okay, or just ask me, and then I'll be able to then explain it to you guys, right? Okay, so that's on the major. Let's move on to the commodity segment.